Hello everyone, it's Lucy here. I'm delighted to meet you all again. I'll try my best to review new stories, from the bad ones to the good ones, from heart-wrenching ones to hilarious ones. If you find them enjoyable, remember to like and subscribe to support me. It's the motivation for me to produce more videos for you to watch. The story begins with a great power from the early period of the ancient Honghuang era, a man named Yi Changqing, who is also the male lead of this story. When he reached the peak of martial arts, he realized that he had forgotten the essence of life due to his single-minded focus on cultivation. He decided to seal his cultivation and experience the mortal world through reincarnation. From modern times on the foundation of human civilization, he crossed over to a world of cultivating immortals that he could only read about in novels. He didn't have any system, golden finger, nor was he born into a prominent family. He didn't have any extraordinary encounters to be accepted as a direct disciple by any major sect. In this world of cultivating immortals, he didn't have spiritual roots, couldn't cultivate, and no sect would accept him. Yet, he didn't know how strong he really was. Every object in his house contained Tao energy. The willow tree in his courtyard turned out to be demon old tree that had been there for thousands of years since ancient times. Even the dog he raised managed to break through to become a demon king. His leisurely painted paintings even helped senior immortal elders break through their cultivation bottlenecks. The chess games he played could destroy entire domains with each move, but he considered himself just a useless person with no spiritual roots, opening a small grocery store to make ends meet while waiting for destiny to come knocking and deliver him into the arms of powerful elders. And now, let's get into the main content of this story. In another world, different from the present, divided into three realms, mortals could attain immortality through cultivation, possessing extraordinary magic. Additionally, there were demonic beasts specialized in disrupting the peaceful lives of the people, with the demon tribe at their head, dwelling in the depths of the mountains and valleys, not seeing a ray of light for thousands of years. Next were magic tribe, possessing greater intelligence than humans, living in the magic valley. They were ferocious and had repeatedly invaded the human world, but the resistance from the various realms was too strong, resulting in many failures. And in this world of cultivating immortals, there exists an extraordinary ability, the potential for boundless achievement. This supernatural ability allows people to become fairy godmothers or choose to become bullfrog masters possessing immense physical strength. Moreover, cultivating immortals can choose their evolutionary species, each with different strengths, supporting their masters in battle. Not only that, but this supernatural ability also has another dark side. People can choose to become despised outcasts, opting for the path of the atavist. Transitioning scenes, there is a clear blue sky without a single cloud in sight. The sunlight shines through the gates of Shaoqi town. In the distance, a group of idle people gathers to watch a performance of acrobatics. A man sitting near the crowd, wearing leisurely black sunglasses, spits out a few watermelon seeds from his mouth. He sits with crossed legs, leaning back in his chair, one hand behind his head and the other holding a large slice of watermelon. There is a red mark on his forehead, indicating that he is not an ordinary person. He introduces himself, saying, "My name is Yi Changqing." Existence placed in any story cultivating immortals genre is quite unlucky. Yi Changqing reminisced about the time when he first arrived in this world, everything starting 5 years ago. Back then, he stood like a lone figure amidst the desolate mountains and forests, surrounded only by tall trees and towering cliffs. Yi Changqing tightly clenched his fists, his face dripping with a cold sweat. With a slight quiver of his lips, he muttered, "So I've crossed over." It was precisely because of this that Yi Changqing immediately imagined a successful future for himself, a future in art, with both hands embracing beautiful women for his enjoyment, and his eyes shining brightly enough to make drool flow from his mouth. He shouted, next to the system could be golden fingers, heavenly protection, freely trampling the laws of the world, and 7 or 8 Taoists without shame. Next, Yi Changqing raised his hand to the sky, his other hand resting on his hip like the strong male protagonists in other cultivating immortal stories. He called out loudly, "System." He maintained this pose for so long that his arm began to tremble uncontrollably. Despite his faint will, Yi Changqing's determination was unwavering. He continued to command, "Golden fingers, magic weapons, where is my master? Show yourself." He kept calling out, but nothing appeared. Yi Changqing knelt on the ground, weeping pitifully, and said, "Is anyone there? Don't hide from me anymore." Some time later, Yi Changqing appeared emaciated and haggard, dressed in tattered clothes and leaning on a cane as he shuffled along the road. Suddenly, a voice beside him rang out, "Check your spiritual roots, check your spiritual roots, 1 penny each." Yi Changqing looked towards the old man sitting nearby, and on the table in front of him was a green glass sphere. Yi Changqing said to the old man, "I want to check." Then he reached out towards the sphere, and in the next moment, a small bolt of lightning shot out around it. The old man, with his silver hair and beard, looked at the sphere's reaction as if he couldn't believe his eyes. He exclaimed, "How is this possible?" Seeing the expression on the old man's face, Yi Changqing was ecstatic, believing himself to be a once-in-a-millennium genius. He asked eagerly, "Quickly tell me, am I a genius with excellent roots and bones?" However, the response he received was like a bucket of cold water. The old man couldn't hide his astonishment as he said, "How could someone not have spiritual roots?" People around quickly gathered around to eavesdrop on the conversation. They whispered and murmured behind Yi Changqing, "Can you believe someone doesn't have spiritual roots? I've never met anyone without spiritual roots before." From then on, Yi Changqing's life turned a different page. He recounted how, because he lacked spiritual roots, no sect was willing to accept him as a disciple. He went to many sects, pleading at their doors, "Please accept me," but as soon as they heard he had no spiritual roots, they all wanted to quickly send him away, saying, "Go away, we don't need a useless person without spiritual roots here." In the days that followed, he could only wander alone on deserted roads, feeling lost and abandoned. Eventually, he made a decision out of necessity, for the sake of survival. "I'll have to find a small town to settle in," and the place Yi Changqing chose was none other than Shaoqi town. His life quickly picked up pace as he opened a grocery store along the roadside, earning some money for meals. In addition, he relied on his teaching knowledge from his past life to support his family, standing in front of a classroom teaching the children in the town. In the classroom, there was only his voice speaking. Despite the initial hardship, Yi Changqing found life to be surprisingly gentle as time passed. He was indeed a dreamy person. While lecturing, his mind often wandered to various matters. He wondered, could it be that the peaceful life, without any struggles, makes me feel happy? Recently, I've noticed a sudden surge in my artistic abilities. With a pen in hand, he traced a few lines, and in an instant, a magnificent painting appeared. Even the calligraphy was flawless. Not only painting but also calligraphy, craftsmanship, all seemed to improve rapidly. Yi Changqing pondered each newfound talent, wondering, could this be my golden finger? But then, he snapped back to reality, hurling the pen onto the desk, breaking it in half. With frustration, he cursed, "What the hell?" Clenching his fists, he bitterly asked himself, in this world of cultivating immortals overrun by demons and spirits, where can I find a future in art? Finishing his sentence, one of his students let out a sigh. "Mr. Yi is daydreaming again." The child's words hit Yi Changqing like a bolt of lightning. He quickly regained his composure, hiding his embarrassment, and returned to his usual demeanor. Calmly, he picked up a wooden ruler and pointed to the board, saying, "Today's lesson is about the postnatal psychology of pigs." Despite Yi Changqing's lecture, the children below seemed disinterested, some were fighting, others chatting. Seeing this, he felt a surge of frustration, his blood boiling. He shouted, "Hey, hey, we're still having a class here." Immediately, one child retorted, "What are we learning? Immortals are coming to recruit disciples. My mom told me to go cultivate immortals." Another naive child chimed in, "That's right, my dad said the same. Reading books won't save mortals. The ultimate goal of the universe is cultivating immortals. Cultivating immortals is everything. Another little guy added, Mr. Yi, you don't have spiritual roots, so you wouldn't understand. A girl with upright hair also innocently spoke up. Mr. Yi, are you also interested in cultivating immortals? Yi Changqing was so angry he trembled, asking, how can you defile such purity without any basis? The kids quickly responded, don't worry, gentlemen, we won't do that. Hearing the comforting words, Yi Changqing breathed a sigh of relief, silently thinking, so they still know to respect their teachers. Just as he had this thought, the next words from the student slapped Yi Changqing in the face like a stinging blow, we're just mocking you to your face. Yi Changqing's eyes widened, grinding his teeth with frustration, wishing he could slap the kid silly right then and there. Suddenly, from outside came the words. The immortals are here. Seeing the immortals arrive, the disrespectful children quickly left, their faces beaming. They said, goodbye, Mr. Yi, go take the sect exam. Finally, I don't have to go to school anymore. Yi Changqing lay helplessly on the ground, the imprint of black shoes still visible behind him. He shouted at them, if you could be chosen, I would stand on a handstand and wash my hair. On the street, people poured out excitedly, eager to meet the immortals, wanting to see if their children could cultivate immortals. The group of immortal beings indeed lived up to their reputation, each one adorned with immortal weapons, exuding an otherworldly aura. Among them were two individuals who arrived in Shaoqi town this time. One was Lu Wushuang, a disciple of the Yuan Jian sect of the Tai Xian Holy Land, wielding his original sword. The other is Tai Xian Holy Land disciple Ji Junior sister. It seems we have arrived in full force. They exchanged words as they lined up together in perfect synchronization. Greetings to the esteemed immortals. Lu Wushuang, with his graceful demeanor, turned to his attendants and commanded, begin the disciple selection for Tai Xian. The attendant promptly obeyed. Holding a ledger as he addressed the commoners, briskly announcing, those participating in the selection, please line up one by one. He glanced at a woman leading a young son, arrogantly asking for their names. The woman, holding her son's hand, smiled and replied, we are called the Li Goqing family. Hearing this name, the other person seemed somewhat disdainful and asked, no prestigious title? He furrowed his brows at the child, silently criticizing, every kid in this town is just ordinary. It seems this trip is turning out to be useless again. The woman chuckled in response to the question, then hurriedly added, oh, but it is. My son's prestigious title is Li Chunfeng. The three words, Li Chunfeng, rang in Lu Wushuang's ears, and she turned her head in astonishment to look at the woman. Seeing the woman staring at her so intently, she appeared puzzled and asked, what's wrong, fairy? Is there something wrong with my son? Sensing her own awkwardness, Lu Wushuang quickly explained, no, it's just that the name doesn't sound bad. Hearing this, the woman's face lit up, and she didn't hesitate to inform Lu Wushuang that the name was chosen by Yi Gentleman, who was the most knowledgeable person in their community. Lu Wushuang smiled gently. Before coming here, she had never considered this possibility. She didn't expect that there would be such a scholarly figure in this town. Perhaps he was even a cultivator. After noting down the child's prestigious title, the man accompanying Lu Wushuang instructed, place your hand on the spirit stones. The boy followed his command, gently placing his hand on the surface of the spirit stones. The moment his hand touched the stones, an unceasing stream of power emanated, and the spirit stones changed from green to yellow. Seeing this spectacle, the junior disciple was horrified. Senior sister, look at this. It turned yellow as soon as he touched it. These are top-grade golden attribute spiritual roots. Upon hearing this, Lu Wushuang turned back, somewhat surprised, and asked, what's going on? Why are you so alarmed? You must know that golden attribute spiritual roots are extremely rare. Even ordinary ones are considered talents, but these top-grade golden attribute roots are even rarer in the world, explained the disciple. Seeing this, Lu Wushuang smiled with satisfaction. This is a good start. Quickly accelerate your testing, she urged. The young disciples then each stated their names: Zhao Kuang Yi, Wei Zhong Xian, Fan Zhong Yan, and finally Wu Sangui. Each name reflected the high level of intelligence of the namers. As the junior disciple recorded their names in the sacred book, the book began to emit a brilliant golden light. He was deeply shocked by this sight because these names carried extremely powerful qi. Just by writing their names in the book, they had already caused such a commotion. Lu Wushuang noticed something unusual about the names of these kids. She then asked, "Who named these children?" The kids all replied in unison, they were all named by Yi gentleman. When Ye's name was mentioned, the kids immediately expressed their pride and joy. Meanwhile, Yi Changqing was quietly observing the examination. Seeing the radiant light emanating from the main hall, he felt a bit surprised because this was the golden light only obtained by those with top-grade spiritual roots. Remembering how he had told the parents of these kids before that their children had no chance of cultivating immortals, he now felt as dark as the bottom of a pot. He realized he was the true clown in this ironic tale. After the examination, Lu Wushuang and Ji Junior Sister leisurely strolled through the town. It was Ji Junior Sister's first time walking around the small town, and she was ecstatic. "This lotus seed candy is delicious. No wonder it's a place with so many talents," she exclaimed. Lu Wushuang, meanwhile, was still thinking about the examination they had just conducted. The young lady exclaimed, "I've never been here before. I can feel the spiritual energy surrounding this place. It might really be a good place." Ji Junior Sister responded, "Exactly, Senior Sister. Look at these sandalwood trees, they're all so exquisite." Unable to resist, Lu Wushuang had to accompany her junior sister into the sandalwood hairpin shop. As soon as they stepped inside, Lu Wushuang felt that something was off. In an instant, she felt a surge of power surrounding her. It was as if she was stepping into some kind of formation. She stood before a giant divine sword, bound by chains, emitting an aura of tremendous power that seemed to oppress the heavens and earth. It was only when Ji Junior Sister called her name repeatedly that Lu Wushuang snapped out of her trance. Seeing her senior sister in such a state, Ji Junior Sister was alarmed. Even Lu Wushuang herself was shaken by her own condition. Sensing a breakthrough inside, Lu Wushuang joyfully informed her junior sister that she had just entered the sixth realm of the Jin Yuan Sword Sutra. Ji Junior Sister, upon hearing this, expressed her astonishment. Lu Wushuang had only recently entered the fifth realm, so reaching the sixth realm typically required at least 7 years. She pondered silently to herself that merely reading the characters on the shop sign had caused her cultivation to advance significantly. The person who engraved this sign must be a powerful swordsman from a great sect. Realizing that everything seemed to be connected to the shop in front of her, Lu Wushuang promptly pulled Ji Junior Sister inside. As soon as they entered, intending to inquire a bit, she was startled and shaken. At that moment, Yi brother also noticed someone arriving and quietly rejoiced that they finally had a customer. Seeing Yi Changqing, Lu Wushuang was immediately struck by the thunderbolt of love at first sight, drawn to his expert-like demeanor. However, she quickly became disappointed because she couldn't sense any cultivator aura from Yi Changqing. Observing the two guests before him, Yi Changqing knew that his opportunity to make wealth had arrived. With their refined appearance and beautiful attire, they were undoubtedly disciples of the Tai Xian Holy Land. He was certain that they wouldn't care about the prices of the items. Thinking so, he enthusiastically introduced the goods in the shop to the two of them. "Feel free to look around, esteemed guests. The items in the shop are definitely beautiful, affordable, and especially not overpriced," Yi Changqing assured. As Lu Wushuang wandered around, she noticed a meticulously painted portrait of a swordsman emanating immense power. Instantly, she was alarmed by this power and quickly drew her own sword to defend herself. The potent force within the painting was overwhelming, and Lu Wushuang couldn't resist it. This might be the legendary Supreme Sword Technique. As she spoke, she felt the sword intent penetrate her meridians, causing her spiritual apertures to undergo a powerful breakthrough. After a while, she felt shaky but sensed something extraordinary had happened. She had broken through to the seventh realm of the Jin Yuan Sword Sutra. Immediately, Lu Wushuang eagerly grabbed Yi Changqing's hand and asked, "Who is the artist behind this painting?" Seeing the excitement in her eyes, Yi Changqing assumed she was genuinely interested in purchasing the painting and felt delighted, thinking, "It seems like this painting could fetch a high price today." Then, Yi brother confessed, "It's embarrassing to admit, but the artist and the person in the painting are both me, Yi Changqing." After introducing the painting, he also said, "This painting is just a self-portrait, nothing more. It's just a rough work done during my usual practice." Hearing this, both of them were stunned for a moment. Then Lu Wushuang expressed her amazement when she heard the words self-portrait and rough work. She could sense the sword intent in the painting, the essence of fire, which ordinary cultivators could not easily grasp. Seeing Lu Wushuang's overly excited expression, Yi Changqing modestly said, "I'm being laughed at by two fairies," but secretly he thought, "Who doesn't have illusions in this world? I exaggerated a bit, and these two ladies took it too seriously." Ji junior sister bluntly commented. "It's quite rough indeed, and this hairstyle and clothing style are just not appealing." Those words felt like a dagger piercing through Yi Changqing's heart, causing him to internally panic. Behind him, he couldn't help but exclaim in distress, "Ouch! Ouch!" while trembling. Seeing junior sister criticizing the masterpiece like that, Lu Wushuang became furious. She sternly lectured, "Your cultivation is shallow, and you don't understand the meaning behind it. It's best not to speak nonsense." These words were like a second dagger piercing through the protagonist. Saying her cultivation was low was akin to criticizing Yi Changqing, implying he lacked even spiritual roots. Yi Changqing had no idea he held such importance in Lu Wushuang's heart. To her, he was young but possessed an extraordinary aura, shining brightly with talent and potential. Why does the painting exude such unparalleled sword intent? Lu Wushuang pondered. She also thought, "I can't sense his cultivation aura. Could it be because his cultivation surpasses mine by far, or perhaps he's deliberately concealing it? Otherwise, how could there be such strong qi in this grocery store? A simple self-portrait can induce a breakthrough in cultivation." Thinking along these lines, Lu Wushuang bowed respectfully to Yi Changqing. "I, Lu Wushuang, a disciple of the Tai Xian Holy Land, pay my respects to the senior." Yi brother was taken aback and responded, "I am just a humble mortal. I cannot accept the title of senior." In Yi Changqing's heart, there was a profound sense of fear at Lu Wushuang's gesture, fearing she was bargaining for the goods. "Stop trying to get acquainted, I won't give you a chance to negotiate," he firmly declared. Lu Wushuang was astonished by Yi Changqing's humility. She heard him call himself a mortal, but in a place with so many spiritual traditions, to refer to oneself as a mere mortal was unusual. Seconds later, she understood. This senior must have an extraordinary cultivation level, so his seclusion must have a hidden purpose. If I speak carelessly and disrupt his intentions, it will displease the expert, she realized. Lu Wushuang's face turned pale as she continued to bow and apologize. Seeing her humble demeanor, Yi Changqing grew increasingly concerned, fearing she might rob his store. On the other hand, Lu Wushuang was even more anxious. She resolved to speak carefully with the senior to avoid offending him. Each had their own concerns. Moments later, Lu Wushuang stood up straight and revised her earlier statement. "Senior, you may not know, but since childhood, I have loved calligraphy in painting. Your masterpiece has inspired me greatly." Of course, he received the title senior with enthusiasm. Yi Changqing was exhilarated. When it came to spiritual roots, he could hold his own against anyone, but in terms of artistry, those cultivating immortals were no match for him. In a moment, Yi Changqing casually remarked, "You can take your time browsing. Besides paintings, there are also many everyday items in the store." Then, Ji junior sister asked curiously, "Gentlemen, why are dried branches banned in the flower vase?" He replied, "Those are bonsai trees for meditation." Next, she pointed to a box and inquired, "Why are these fruits so sticky?" He cheerfully responded, "That's homemade fruit preserves." Moving on to a Roman sculpture in the shop. Ji junior sister wondered why the sculpture had no arms and was not wearing clothes. Yi Changqing explained, "Because she is the most beautiful woman in the world." Lu Wushuang quickly noticed this peculiar statue, feeling a bit embarrassed. Initially, she thought the statue was too unconventional, lacking limbs yet seemingly containing sensuality. After a while, she sensed an aura emanating from within the statue. Lu Wushuang immediately changed her way of thinking. Even with the loss of both arms, if compensated for properly, they can still achieve perfection. This is the enlightenment of an expert from beyond the mortal realm. Unbeknownst to the two young women, they had become a thorn in Yi Changqing's side by now because they had only been asking questions without making any purchases. Behind the scenes, Lu Wushuang had also figured out one thing: there were no household items in this shop. Everything here was of celestial quality. Even a single item could cause a fierce competition among cultivating immortals. Suddenly, Ji junior sister picked up a wooden hairpin and asked, "How much is this hairpin?" Yi Changqing immediately raised 3 fingers. A gesture that held a hidden meaning. Yi Changqing thought to himself, "Whether it's 3 taels of silver or 3 spirit stones, I'll profit." The male lead didn't think much of it, but Lu Wushuang, on the other hand, had a much more complex interpretation. She believed that Yi Changqing was a mysterious and profound figure, likely experiencing life before cultivation. Therefore, if she were to exchange treasures from the cultivation world, it would seem like an insult to him. The shape of Yi Changqing's hand just now made Lu Wushuang secretly think, this seemingly simple hand actually contains infinite laws. The 3 fingers standing straight represent the 3 lives of all things, while the thumb and index finger form a circle, representing perfection and also the form of a coin. Because of this thought, she immediately understood that the senior was indicating the need for a perfect offering, symbolized by the coin. So she took out 3 coins and handed them to Yi Changqing, a move even he couldn't anticipate. He froze on the spot, his face no different from someone who had just eaten a washing marrow pill, his expression turning bloodless at the sight of the 3 coins in his hand. Lu Wushuang, at this moment, looked at Yi brother with admiration in her eyes, silently marveling, "Luckily, I reacted in time earlier. If junior sister had used spirit stones and made the expert unhappy, the consequences would have been unpredictable. It's fortunate nothing happened. One wrong move and we would have offended an expert." Little did she know that after receiving the 3 coins, Yi brother was silently crying, his anger building up into a clenched fist as he thought.